Ever met someone so convinced the world bends to their rules that they actually called the cops over a hammock? That's how I found myself in the middle of flashing lights and uniformed officers, just for relaxing on my own land. I was lying in the same canvas hammock my grandfather tied up between two old oaks he planted back in the 1950s, enjoying the breeze from the lake nearby. Then out of nowhere, two patrol cars pulled up just outside my fence. Lights on, hands resting on belts. One of them shouted, "Sir, we got a report about a suspicious individual trespassing near the lake." I sat up slowly, confused. "You mean this lake?" I asked, pointing toward the water. "The one that's part of my ranch? The one I was born next to?" The younger cop looked uncomfortable. "That's what the complaint said." And then I saw her, standing across the property line, arms crossed like some judgmental statue. Melleen Crane, president of the Ridgeview Hills HOA. Her voice carried even from a distance. "He's ruining the lakefront ambience. He's making people feel unsafe." That's when it hit me. This wasn't about a hammock. This was about her need to control everything she could see. Let me give some context. My name's Jackson Keller, and I run Blue Hollow Ranch, 160 acres passed down from my grandfather, who bought it in 1952. That lake, it's been the backdrop of every family picnic, birthday, and Sunday afternoon since before I could talk. For decades, life was calm and uninterrupted. Then, 5 years ago, Ridgeview Hills showed up. A fancy gated community sprang up along the eastern side of my property. At first, it was civil. Some waved. A few even came by for fresh eggs. But everything shifted the moment Melleen became head of the HOA. She started complaining, first about the cows being too noisy, then about the unpleasant scent of fresh hay drifting into her $1 million backyard. But what really triggered her was the realization that her expensive lake view came with me in it. One evening she spotted me. Shirt off, drink in hand, boots tossed aside, gently swaying in my hammock, and that's when she snapped. The police visit was just her opening move. A few days later, I received a letter with all the pomp and official-looking nonsense an HOA could muster. Thick paper, gold seal, formal language. According to them, my hammock was an unsanctioned structure violating community view standards and had to be removed immediately from their so-called amenity space. Amenity space? I replied with copies of my deed, the original 1952 land survey, and a firm but respectful letter making one thing clear. This is private property. You don't own it. Stay on your side. Next came the cameras. Not mine, hers. 3 tall poles popped up just over the fence, each equipped with high-end surveillance pointed squarely at my house. One focused on the hammock. Another tracked movement on my porch. The third one, night vision. Then she kicked it up another level, live streaming me on the neighborhood's HOA Facebook group. I became a local reality show. People were actually commenting. "He's out by the lake again. Wonder what's in that old shed?" One woman even created a detailed spreadsheet logging my daily activities. Apparently, sitting on my porch with iced tea at 2:15 p.m. was considered suspicious behavior. Then came the music. At 3 a.m., I was jolted awake by Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries blaring through hidden speakers pointed at my house. It lasted 29 minutes, just under the time limit required to file a noise complaint. I called the cops, of course. But when they arrived, the speakers were silent, and Melleen was nowhere to be found. One officer just sighed and said, "Let me guess, HOA feud." And it didn't stop there. Week after week, it was something new. She wasn't just waging a war against a hammock or a view. She was trying to drive me off my own land. But she underestimated just how deep my roots go. This isn't just a patch of dirt with a nice view. It's home. And no HOA president is going to scare me off it. It started subtly. A few side-eyes. A handful of awkward run-ins. Then came the whispers. Accusations of odd behavior. Strange comings and goings. Even my vet got questioned. The man delivering feed for my animals said someone stopped him just outside the fence, clipboard in hand, asking who gave him permission. At first, I brushed it off as nosy neighbors. But it wasn't just annoying, it was strategic. The pressure escalated fast. One morning, a man in a dark suit knocked on my door. He handed me a thick envelope without saying a word. Inside was a lawsuit claiming I had been trespassing on my own land. According to the HOA, the eastern 50 feet of my property was actually shared space granted to the neighborhood through historic use. They wanted $50,000 in damages and a legal order preventing me from setting foot on that part of my land. Couldn't believe it. I contacted Sarah Alvarez, a sharp attorney a friend recommended. She skimmed the packet, then read it again slowly. When she finally looked up, she said flatly, "This is more than just a nuisance. This is fraudulent." She dug into county records, reviewed my deed, the survey, every scrap of paper tied to the property. Everything was airtight. Then she found it. A map, one the Ridgeview Hills HOA had submitted years earlier during a development application. It had conveniently redrawn my property line, pushing it west by exactly 50 feet. The same patch of lakeside land Melline, the HOA president, had tried to buy off me a few years ago. I had politely declined. Now it seemed she was trying to claim it anyway, under the guise of common access. Sarah said we needed undeniable proof. I remembered my grandfather once showing me the original survey marker out near the willows. I hadn't seen it in years. We drove out there, and after some digging, there it was, a weathered iron pipe still stamped with the original code. A licensed surveyor confirmed it. The HOA's prized grill station, pergola, and $30,000 in patio work sat right on my land. They weren't accusing me of trespass, they were the ones squatting. Sarah filed a counterclaim the next day. We demanded full removal of unauthorized structures, $150,000 in damages, and all legal costs. Then came the deposition. The law office looked like something out of a legal drama. Glass walls, marble floors. Melline was already seated, sharp as ever, posture perfect, her face a mask of disdain. Her lawyer offered a smug introduction, suggesting a reasonable settlement. Sarah cut him off, laying out both the original and tampered maps, timestamps, and construction permits. Melline's expression faltered, first confusion, then fury. "This is absurd," she shouted. "That farmer has been dragging down this whole neighborhood for years, sitting in that disgusting hammock like he owns the place." Sarah didn't flinch. "He does own the place. You built on it, and you sued him." Melline launched into a tirade about maintaining standards, preserving the character of the neighborhood, even said she'd burn it all down before letting a rancher win. Security had to escort her out. 2 days later, their attorney gave up. He looked half dead from lack of sleep when we met in court. They agreed to everything. The structures would be torn down, damages paid in full, legal fees covered. Melline was to resign from the HOA immediately and was barred from holding any position in the future. She had to issue a public apology on the HOA website, in the paper, and in a letter to every household in the community. But I had one last request. She had to come in person to remove every camera they'd installed along the disputed boundary. She did, under watch from half the neighborhood. My neighbor Carl streamed the whole thing, adding slow-motion edits and dramatic violin music. The rain started halfway through. Melline stood by the fence, drenched, makeup streaking down her face, watching as her little empire crumbled. Carl titled the stream "The Day the HOA Died." Still gets shared. Her house sold quietly a few weeks later, below market. The new HOA president sent me a formal apology and permanently removed any mention of that so-called easement. I put my hammock back up where it belonged, between the 2 oaks my grandfather planted in '52. Right by the lake now stands a simple sign: private property. Blue Hollow Ranch, EST 1952. Hammocks welcome. And just beneath that, smile, you're on farmer camera. Because peace is a beautiful thing. But peace with proof? That's justice.